Today I want to talk about wholesaling, and one of the questions I commonly get is should I use an option to wholesale or should I use an assignment to wholesale? And there's some pros and cons. I just want to kind of talk about that briefly with you. So first of all, an option. An option is a contract you sign that says you can buy the property or you have an option to buy the property, and usually it spells out a time frame. So you've got 10 days or 2 weeks or 30 days or whatever you put in the contract. You have that time frame to then buy the property. And then what's really key about an option is you have an option fee. So you pay a fee to, usually, in almost all cases, you have a fee. And if you go ahead and you exercise your option and buy the property for the predetermined fee or the predetermined price, then you have that option. If you don't, then you're not held liable, you're not responsible, you can back out of the agreement, but you lose your option fee. So that's a really cool way to do wholesale deals because it takes the liability off of you, right? Because an assignment is different. I'll talk about an assignment in a minute where you do have liability on your contract and you have to exercise and be careful you've got due diligence and some ways out of that contract. But an option simply says, if I come up with the money during this time frame, I'll exercise my option, I'm locked in, you can't sell to anybody else, here's a fee. If I don't exercise my option, you keep my fee. If I do, the fee gets applied towards the purchase. And then you simply go out, you find your cash buyer, you assign your option or you exercise your option, and then you assign your contract then to your cash buyer. So that's how an option works. An assignment's a little bit different. You actually sign a purchase agreement, you get the property under contract, and then you use the assignment to then transfer liability or transfer ownership of the contract to your new cash buyer, right? So, but what that means is it means there's that original contract, and the terms of that contract you're held to, you're bound to. So if you pay an earnest money deposit on your contract, and then you're not able to find a cash buyer to assign your contract to, then you're ultimately responsible on that contract, which means you could lose your earnest money deposit or whatever other repercussions. So a lot of times if you're doing an assignment, you want to make sure you have a contingency, like an inspection contingency. That could be 5, 7, 10 days. That gives you a little window of time to find your cash buyer. If for some reason you can't and you want out of the contract, you have to exercise it during that due diligence period. If you don't, then again, you could be bound to the terms of the contract. So there's more liability there with an assignment. And there's more pressure because usually your due diligence period is shorter. 10 days is kind of stretching it. It's hard to get more than 10 days, on a contingency, on an inspection contingency. Whereas an option, you could have a 30-day option, a 60-day option, and you've got all that time to then find your cash buyer. So those are just some different ways to look at wholesaling. I like to look at the particular deal, what makes more sense, what's the least amount I can pay on my option fee, do I need more time to find a buyer? Consider some of those things when you decide if you should do an option or an assignment. Definitely less liability on your part, less stress, you have more time if you're doing an option. All right, that was my tip for you today, and I'll see you next time.